Welcome back to the channel Rare Coins History, once again to the world where small pieces of metal can hold unbelievable secrets. Today we're diving into an overlooked coin, one that most people would easily pass by without a second thought, the United States of America 5-cent Jefferson nickel from 1986. At first glance, it may look like an ordinary coin, the type you might find rolling around in your pocket, at the bottom of a jar, or forgotten inside an old drawer. But behind its simple appearance lies history, symbolism, and a shocking potential value that could turn the smallest change into a true collector's prize. Stay with me until the very end, because the final number is going to leave you speechless. The Jefferson nickel has been a part of American coinage since 1938, replacing the Buffalo nickel, and it has carried with it the proud portrait of one of America's founding fathers, Thomas Jefferson. By 1986, the design had already been in circulation for decades, but that doesn't mean every year is equal in the eyes of collectors. Some years hold unique characteristics, different minting details, or rare conditions that elevate a coin from being just another 5 cents to something worth holding, protecting, and even auctioning. Now let's take a journey back to the mid-1980s in the United States. Ronald Reagan was president, the Cold War was still shaping global politics, and the American economy was pushing forward with a mix of challenges and opportunities. Everyday life was fast-paced, technology was advancing, and in the midst of this, the U.S. Mint was producing millions of coins that most people never even glanced at twice. The 1986 Jefferson nickel is a perfect reflection of that period, an everyday object that quietly carried history in the palm of your hand. On the obverse side of the coin, you'll find the familiar left-facing portrait of Thomas Jefferson, the third President of the United States, author of the Declaration of Independence, and a man whose influence shaped the nation's early ideals. Around his image, the words, "In God We Trust," and "Liberty," are inscribed, along with the year 1986. Simple, yet powerful, the design connects the coin to American history in a way that makes it more than just a piece of currency. Flip the coin over, and you're greeted by Monticello, Jefferson's Virginia estate, rendered in crisp architectural detail. The building is framed with the inscriptions, E pluribus unum, meaning, out of many, one, and of course, United States of America, and 5 cents. While many may only glance at Monticello for a second, coin enthusiasts know that the quality of its engraving and strike plays a huge role in determining the value of a Jefferson nickel. A sharp, clear Monticello with all the steps visible is especially prized among collectors, because it represents a strong, detailed strike from the mint. Now you might be wondering, what makes a 1986 nickel stand out from the billions of others produced over the years? The answer lies in rarity, condition, and sometimes in fascinating minting errors. Most coins are born to circulate, passed hand to hand until they wear down. But a few escape that fate. A small number of 1986 Jefferson nickels were preserved in pristine condition, untouched by circulation, their luster and detail frozen in time. These are the nickels that collectors hunt for, because while ordinary circulated examples may only be worth their face value, those rare uncirculated gems can command astonishing prices. And then we have the world of mint errors, which is where things get even more exciting. Occasionally, a coin comes off the press with mistakes, double strikes, off-center designs, planchet errors, or even misaligned dies. While mistakes in most industries lower value, in coin collecting, they can skyrocket it. A 1986 Jefferson nickel with a striking error instantly transforms from a common coin into a one-of-a-kind collectible. Every collector dreams of finding an error coin, because no two are exactly the same. Condition is another critical factor. Coins are graded on a scale, with mint state grades at the top. A coin graded as MS 65 or higher means it has virtually no flaws visible to the naked eye. Every tiny detail, from Jefferson's hairlines to the delicate steps of Monticello, is preserved in crisp clarity. Achieving such a high grade is rare, especially for coins that were originally meant to circulate freely through countless hands. That's why when one of these pristine examples surfaces at auction, the bidding can reach unbelievable levels. Imagine searching through an old box of coins from your childhood, or going through rolls of nickels from the bank, and suddenly spotting a 1986 Jefferson nickel that looks almost brand new. The shine, the details, the perfection, it's enough to stop your heart for a moment. And for collectors, that moment could be life-changing. Because while it may look like just another small coin, the value hidden within can be astonishing. The 1986 Jefferson nickel is a reminder that treasures are often hiding in plain sight. Coins we see every day carry stories of the past, and sometimes, if fortune smiles on us, they carry financial surprises too. That's why collectors spend years studying, searching, and preserving these little pieces of history. Each discovery is a reminder that history, beauty, and value can fit in the palm of your hand. And now, the part you've been waiting for, the value reveal. A 1986 Jefferson nickel, in perfect uncirculated condition with exceptional qualities, or one with a rare minting error, has been known to reach an incredible $54,000 at auction. Yes, you heard that right, $54,000 for a single Jefferson nickel from 1986. Who would believe that something so small, something most people would dismiss as pocket change, could be worth so much? So the next time you come across an old nickel, don't overlook it. Study it, examine it carefully, because you never know if the coin in your hand might just be one of those rare treasures that could change your life. Today, we're about to uncover the hidden story behind a coin that millions of Americans once held in their hands without ever realizing its true potential. The coin we're exploring is none other than the United States of America 5-cent Jefferson nickel from the year 1984. At first glance, it might look like just another ordinary nickel, the kind you'd expect to get back as loose change at the grocery store, but don't let its simple look fool you. This coin has secrets, history, and an incredible hidden value that will leave you stunned once you hear it. So make sure to stay with me right to the very end, because what I'm about to share might change the way you look at every nickel you come across. The Jefferson nickel has been a part of American life since 1938, and through the decades it has carried with it the iconic image of Thomas Jefferson, the third President of the United States, a founding father, and the author of the Declaration of Independence. By the time we reach 1984, the Jefferson nickel had already been a familiar face in pockets and purses for nearly half a century. Yet, within those years, each minting tells a different story. And while most people would never look twice at a 1984 nickel, coin collectors know that certain years and certain conditions can make all the difference between a coin worth 5 cents and a coin worth thousands. Let's pause for a moment and think about America in 1984. The country was deep into the Reagan era, the economy was roaring with new highs and lows, technology was advancing faster than ever before, and everyday Americans were living through a time of both optimism and global tension. It was an era of change, and like all times in history, coins were quietly recording that story. Every nickel produced in that year carried with it a tiny reflection of American life, waiting to be rediscovered decades later. On the obverse of the 1984 Jefferson nickel, you'll see the strong and familiar portrait of Jefferson himself, facing left, his sharp features outlined in careful detail. Surrounding him are the words, "In God We Trust," and "Liberty," followed by the date, 1984, etched clearly for anyone who cares to look closely. This side of the coin represents tradition and continuity, a reminder of the enduring ideals Jefferson stood for. Turn it over, and there stands Monticello, Jefferson's grand estate in Virginia, designed by his own hand. Every detail of the building is important to collectors, especially the clarity of the steps leading up to the entrance. Known among collectors as the full steps, these fine lines, when visible and undamaged, greatly increase the value of a Jefferson nickel. On top of Monticello rests the phrase, "E pluribus unum," meaning, out of many, one. Around the edges we read, "United States of America," and 5 cents. It's simple, it's classic, and it's deeply symbolic of the nation's unity and strength. But what makes the 1984 nickel more than just a small piece of everyday change? The secret lies in rarity, condition, and sometimes in mistakes made during the minting process. You see, not every coin that rolls off the press is identical. Some come out with tiny imperfections that make them unique. Double strikes, off-center designs, planchet flaws, or misaligned dies can all turn a plain coin into a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. Collectors love these error coins because they are rare, distinctive, and can't be replicated. A 1984 Jefferson nickel with such an error could be worth far more than anyone might expect. Condition is another crucial factor. Coins are graded on a strict scale, and the higher the grade, the higher the value. A coin that looks fresh from the mint, untouched by circulation, shines differently from the nickels that clink around in pockets and jars. The luster is brighter, the details sharper, and the story clearer. Finding a 1984 nickel in that condition is like finding a time capsule, a piece of history frozen in perfect form. These coins are the ones that make collectors' hearts race, because they know just how rare it is to see something so pristine after decades of existence. Imagine for a moment the excitement of opening an old roll of nickels, maybe something passed down from a relative, or tucked away in a dusty box in the attic. As you go through the coins one by one, your eyes catch a 1984 nickel that doesn't look like the others. Its shine is different, its details sharper, and you realize you might be holding something extraordinary. That single moment of discovery is what drives collectors to search, to hunt, and to never give up on the hope of finding treasure in the most ordinary places. Collectors aren't just buying coins for metal and design. They're buying history, rarity, and the thrill of owning something almost no one else has. A Jefferson nickel from 1984 that stands out because of its flawless condition, or because of a rare minting error, isn't just another coin. It's a conversation piece, a collectible, and for the right buyer, an investment worth thousands. And this brings us to the moment you've been waiting for, the part of the story that transforms this humble nickel into something truly remarkable. Because while the vast majority of 1984 nickels will only ever be worth 5 cents, there are those rare examples that have shocked the collecting world. In the right condition, with the right qualities, a Jefferson nickel from 1984 has been known to sell for as much as $47,000. Yes, you heard that correctly, $47,000 for a single nickel. A coin that many people would toss into a change jar without a second thought could actually be worth more than a brand new car, more than a year's salary, more than some people's dreams. It is living proof that the world of coins is filled with hidden treasures, and that sometimes, the most ordinary object in your hand could hold an extraordinary fortune. So the next time you get a nickel and change, take a closer look. You might just be holding history, and if you're lucky, you could be holding a small piece of metal that's worth a life-changing amount of money. Today, we're exploring a coin that might look incredibly ordinary, something most people wouldn't even give a second glance: the United States of America 5 cents Jefferson nickel from 1979. You may have seen this coin countless times in your pocket change, maybe even tossed it into a jar or left it forgotten in a drawer. But here's the twist: this humble nickel could actually hold secrets worth a staggering fortune. So, stay with me until the very end, because the story I'm about to share will completely change the way you look at this small piece of American history. The Jefferson nickel is one of the longest-running designs in U.S. coinage, first introduced in 1938 to replace the Buffalo nickel. By 1979, the coin had already been in circulation for more than 4 decades. People had grown so used to seeing Thomas Jefferson's familiar face on one side and Monticello, his home, on the other, that many didn't realize just how important and collectible certain years could become. The 1979 issue is one of those overlooked treasures, quietly waiting to be rediscovered by those who truly understand the world of numismatics. Now let's take a step back into the late 1970s. America was in a time of cultural and economic shifts. The decade had seen political scandals, the energy crisis, inflation, and changing lifestyles across the country. Disco music and new technology filled the air, while at the same time, ordinary Americans were just trying to keep pace with the rising cost of living. Amid all these changes, the United States Mint kept producing coins for daily use, never imagining that years later, some of those very coins would become prized possessions worth far more than their face value. On the obverse of the 1979 Jefferson nickel, you'll find the left-facing portrait of Thomas Jefferson, the visionary statesman who authored the Declaration of Independence and served as the 3rd President of the United States. The words, "In God We Trust," stand proudly alongside his image, as does the inscription, "Liberty," followed by the year 1979. It's a design both simple and iconic, one that has been part of American history for generations. Turn the coin over, and there it is, Monticello, Jefferson's grand estate in Virginia. For coin collectors, the reverse is where the real hunt begins. The sharpness of the strike, the visibility of the fine details, and especially the clarity of the steps leading to Monticello's entrance, known as the full steps, can dramatically change a coin's value. A nickel with crisp, full steps is a rarity, because most coins from that era were struck quickly for circulation, and many show worn or incomplete details. Finding a 1979 nickel with sharp, perfect steps is like striking gold in the world of coin collecting, but rarity isn't only about detail. Sometimes, the most valuable coins are the ones that contain minting errors. These errors occur when something goes wrong during production, an off-center strike, doubling of the design, a clipped planchet, or misaligned dies. To most people, these might look like mistakes, but to collectors, they are treasures, unique accidents that set one coin apart from millions of others. A 1979 Jefferson nickel with such an error could transform from a pocket change coin into an extraordinary collectible. Condition is another critical factor that can't be ignored. Coins are graded on a scale, and at the top are mint state examples, those that look as though they just left the mint, untouched by circulation. Imagine a 1979 nickel with shimmering luster, no scratches, no wear, and every detail perfectly intact. That's the kind of coin that collectors dream about. These coins are not only beautiful to look at but also hold immense value because of their rarity in such pristine condition. Think about this for a moment. You might have an old jar of coins sitting in your house right now, coins that have been there for years, passed down from family or saved from the past. Buried in that collection could be a Jefferson nickel from 1979 that looks different from the rest. Maybe it's shinier, maybe the steps on Monticello are clearer, or maybe you notice a strange doubling or misalignment. That discovery could mean you're holding something incredibly valuable without even knowing it. Collectors are fascinated by these coins because they tell a story far beyond their small size. They're not just bits of metal, they're windows into history. Each one has traveled through time, carrying with it the weight of decades of American life. And for the few that survived in near-perfect condition, or with those rare and intriguing minting errors, they've become much more than coins. They've become prized treasures. The Jefferson nickel of 1979 is proof that fortune often hides in the most ordinary places. Coins we handle every day, coins we barely notice, can sometimes hold life-changing surprises. That's what makes the world of coin collecting so thrilling. You never truly know what you might find until you look closely. And now, the part you've been waiting for. While the majority of 1979 Jefferson nickels are worth no more than their face value of 5 cents, there are rare examples that have shocked the collecting world with their auction results. In pristine condition, with exceptional qualities, or marked by a rare minting error, a Jefferson nickel from 1979 has sold for as much as $77,000. Yes, you heard that correctly, $77,000 for a single nickel. Imagine the power of that discovery, turning what seems like pocket change into a life-changing prize. It's an incredible reminder that history and value can often be hiding in the smallest of places, just waiting for the right set of eyes to uncover them. So, the next time you find a nickel in your change, don't dismiss it. Take a closer look, study the details, and remember the story of the 1979 Jefferson nickel. You never know, you might just be holding a treasure worth more than you ever imagined. Today, we're going to uncover the fascinating story of a coin that almost every American has seen, handled, or even forgotten in their change, the Jefferson nickel from 1964. Now, at first glance, it might look like nothing special, just another 5-cent piece that jingles in your pocket. But don't be fooled by its ordinary appearance, because hidden within this coin is a story of history, rarity, and shocking value that could leave you speechless. So, stay with me until the very end, because what I reveal about this 1964 Jefferson nickel might just change the way you look at nickels forever. The Jefferson nickel series began in 1938, replacing the Buffalo nickel, and for decades it has been one of the most familiar coins in American life. By the time 1964 rolled around, the design had already been in circulation for over 25 years, featuring Thomas Jefferson on the obverse and his grand estate, Monticello, on the reverse. But 1964 wasn't just any year, it was a turning point in U.S. coinage history. America in 1964 was going through rapid change. It was the height of the civil rights movement, President Lyndon B. Johnson was leading the nation, and the economy was strong yet facing new challenges. It was also the last year the U.S. Mint struck silver coins for dimes, quarters, and half dollars. Because of rising silver prices, people began hoarding coins, and as a result, the mint dramatically increased production to try to meet demand. The 1964 Jefferson nickel became part of this mass production wave, and as a result, billions were made. On the surface, it might seem that such a massive mintage would make the 1964 nickel common and unremarkable, but here's where the story takes a fascinating twist. Even though billions of these coins were struck, not all 1964 Jefferson nickels are equal. Collectors know that within such large mintages, there can be rare varieties, minting errors, and coins preserved in pristine, uncirculated condition that stand out from the crowd. Those special examples are the ones that transform a common coin into something truly extraordinary. On the obverse of the coin, Jefferson's portrait faces left, the words, "In God We Trust," and "Liberty" framing his image, along with the date 1964. Flip it over, and Monticello appears in elegant detail. But here's what collectors look for: the clarity of the steps on Monticello. When all the steps are sharp and fully struck, known as full steps, the value of the coin increases dramatically. This is because achieving a sharp strike with clear full steps was rare, especially in 1964 when production was rushed to meet demand. Finding a coin from that year with full steps is like finding a needle in a haystack, and it's exactly the kind of detail that can drive collectors into fierce competition at auctions. Minting errors from 1964 add even more excitement. Imagine a coin struck slightly off-center, or one with doubling in the inscriptions, or even a planchet error where the coin's metal wasn't formed correctly. To the average person, these flaws might look like imperfections, but to numismatists, they're treasures. Error coins are one of a kind, making them unique and highly sought after. A 1964 Jefferson nickel with such a rare error can fetch astonishing prices, because it combines both history and uniqueness in a single piece of metal. Condition plays an equally critical role. Most nickels from 1964 were circulated heavily, worn down over years of use. They carry scratches, dings, and faded details from being exchanged countless times. But every once in a while, someone discovers a coin that was set aside, preserved in nearly perfect mint condition. These uncirculated examples shine with original luster, crisp detail, and almost no wear. For collectors, finding a 1964 nickel in that kind of condition is like uncovering a time capsule, a perfect window back to the year it was minted. Picture this: you open a jar of coins inherited from a relative, or maybe you're searching through rolls of nickels from the bank. One coin catches your eye. It's a 1964 Jefferson nickel, but it looks different. The shine is brighter, the Monticello steps are sharp and clear, and there's not a single noticeable scratch. In that moment, you could be holding something incredibly valuable, something most people would never expect from such a common coin. That thrill of discovery is what makes coin collecting so exciting. You never truly know when fortune might be hiding in plain sight. Collectors around the world chase after the 1964 Jefferson nickel for exactly these reasons. It's not just a coin, it's a piece of American history, a reminder of a changing era, and for the rarest examples, a potential fortune. While most of the billions minted will forever remain worth face value, those rare few with perfect condition, sharp details, or fascinating errors rise above the rest and command jaw-dropping prices at auctions. And now, we come to the most exciting part: the value reveal. While the vast majority of 1964 Jefferson nickels are only worth 5 cents, rare examples with extraordinary qualities have shocked collectors with their final auction prices. A flawless, uncirculated Jefferson nickel from 1964, or one marked by a unique minting error, has been known to sell for as much as $89,000. Yes, you heard that right, $89,000 for a single nickel. Just imagine holding something in your hand that looks like everyday pocket change, only to find out it's worth more than a luxury car, more than a down payment on a house, more than many people earn in an entire year. That's the magic of coin collecting, the extraordinary hiding in the ordinary, waiting for the right eyes to notice. So the next time you come across an old nickel, don't dismiss it. Look closer, study the details, and remember the story of the 1964 Jefferson nickel. You never know if the coin sitting in your change jar might just be one of those rare treasures worth an incredible fortune. Today we're going to talk about a coin that almost everyone has seen at some point in their lives but very few have ever thought twice about. It's a small, simple coin worth just 5 cents on its face, but inside this piece of metal lies a story of history, mystery, and the potential for life-changing fortune. I'm talking about none other than the United States Jefferson nickel from the year 1973. And believe me, by the end of this video, you'll never look at a nickel the same way again. Now, when we say 1973, let's pause for a moment and take ourselves back in time. The United States was going through one of the most turbulent decades in modern history. The Vietnam War was still unfolding, technology was advancing, and society was changing rapidly. But while all this was happening, in the quiet halls of the U.S. Mint, millions of coins were being struck for everyday use. Among them were the Jefferson nickels of 1973, a coin that carried forward a design familiar to Americans for decades yet still managed to hold secrets that make collectors' hearts race today. The Jefferson nickel design had been in place since 1938, with the front of the coin showing the dignified portrait of Thomas Jefferson, the nation's third president, and the back featuring his grand estate, Monticello. To the average American in 1973, this design was just part of their daily life. A nickel to buy candy, a nickel to feed into a parking meter, a nickel to make up change at the grocery store. But as coin collectors know all too well, within even the most ordinary years of coinage, rare gems can be hiding, waiting to be discovered. So, what makes the 1973 Jefferson nickel so fascinating? First, let's talk about production. Both the Philadelphia and Denver mints produced these coins, and while millions rolled off the presses, the quality of the strike often varied. Not every coin captured the fine details of Jefferson's face or the intricate steps of Monticello. When a coin is found with those details sharp and complete, especially with all the Monticello steps clearly visible, what collectors call full steps, it instantly becomes far more desirable. Coins with full steps from 1973 are not easy to come by, and their rarity pushes their value skyward, but it's not just about condition. Errors from 1973 make this coin even more intriguing. Imagine finding a Jefferson nickel with doubling in the date or the lettering, an off-center strike, or even a wrong planchet error where the coin was struck on the wrong type of metal. These mistakes, while rare, slipped out of the mint and into circulation, and today they are some of the most sought-after treasures in the collecting world. A simple error can turn a coin worth 5 cents into a collector's prize worth thousands, and here's where the story gets even more interesting. In 1973, the mint was under pressure to keep up with demand while also dealing with changes in technology and production quality. That meant inconsistencies were more likely to occur, and coins that display unusual features or especially sharp detail are even more highly valued. Think about it like this: when billions of coins are made, the vast majority will be ordinary, but the rare exceptions become legends. Now let's talk about condition, one of the most critical factors in determining the value of any coin. Most 1973 Jefferson nickels you come across will be well worn from decades of use. They'll have scratches, dents, and a dull appearance from having passed through countless hands. But imagine pulling out a coin from a collection or an old bankroll that looks as if it was struck yesterday, bright, shiny, with sharp details untouched by circulation. That's the kind of condition that collectors dream about. A pristine coin like this from 1973 can completely change its value, especially if it combines that condition with full steps or a rare mint error. Picture the moment: you're searching through a handful of change, maybe after a grocery store trip or from a coin jar you've kept for years. Suddenly, one coin stands out. You take a closer look, and there it is, 1973 staring back at you with Jefferson's profile in remarkable clarity, Monticello's steps crisp and complete. You start to wonder, could this be one of those hidden treasures that collectors chase after? That thrill of possibility is exactly what keeps coin enthusiasts hunting, and it's why this year's nickel has gained such legendary status in the collecting world. Collectors across the globe pay close attention to the 1973 Jefferson nickel not just for its rarity but for its symbolism. It represents an era of American history, it reflects the artistry and challenges of coin production, and in the right form, it carries a financial value that defies its humble denomination. The beauty of this coin is that it could be hiding anywhere. In a jar, in a drawer, in your pocket right now. That mystery is part of what makes this hobby so exciting, and now, we come to the moment you've been waiting for, the incredible value that makes this ordinary-looking nickel extraordinary. While most 1973 Jefferson nickels are worth no more than their face value, a rare specimen with the right combination of flawless condition, full steps detail, and exceptional preservation has been known to sell for as much as $74,000. Yes, you heard that correctly, $74,000 for a single Jefferson nickel from 1973. Think about that for a moment. A coin most people ignore, a coin worth only 5 cents in everyday transactions, has in rare cases transformed into a piece of treasure worth tens of thousands of dollars. It's the perfect reminder that hidden value can be found in the most unexpected places. So, the next time you come across a 1973 Jefferson nickel, don't overlook it. Take a close look at Jefferson's portrait, study Monticello's steps, and check for unusual errors. Because you never know, you could be holding a small piece of history that also carries a fortune. Thank you for joining me on this journey into the fascinating story of the 1973 Jefferson nickel. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more incredible coin stories. And don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss out on discovering which coins in your pocket change might just change your life. Until next time, keep searching, keep collecting, and may your next coin be the treasure you've been dreaming of.